Hey, everybody. How's it going? Thanks for bearing with us and being patient as we work through a couple of technical difficulties. We're so grateful to have you join our Facebook Live today. And I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this to talk a little bit about volunteering with your pet and about the Pet Partners program. We'll give people a minute to get their notifications and get logged on. If anybody's in the chat who wants to let me know where you're tuning in from, I'd love to see that. That'll let me know it's working this time. So my name's Tracy Pryor. I'm the Chief Development Officer at Pet Partners. I've worked here for a little over 10 years, and I'm so excited to talk to you today and provide a little bit of overview around our program and how you and your pet could consider getting involved. Peyton, if you want to go to the next slide, we'll go ahead and get started with our content today. What are we going to talk about today? I want to talk a little bit about why volunteering is important. We're going to talk with a special guest, my friend Katie, a handler extraordinaire with her therapy dog, River. We're going to talk about why Pet Partners is a great choice for you and your animal. Who do we visit? Ways you can volunteer to make your community happier and healthier. We'll talk about the special role of a therapy animal, but also the role of the human end of the leash, the handler. We'll talk about the steps to become a therapy animal team and how to start your journey. When we talk about why volunteering is important, one of the things is really the human-animal bond. And that is that incredible connection between humans and animals. It's the connection we all feel with our own pets. Peyton, do you want to go to the next slide? It's the trust, the unconditional love, that feeling we all feel when we get home after leaving our homes and our own pets greet us. We all know intrinsically how we feel with our own pets. It's this feeling that we're less stressed, we're more calm, we're relaxed. We feel the unconditional love, we feel the acceptance. It's very grounding. We feel that we belong. And the same type of interaction is possible with therapy animals going in and visiting in their communities. And therapy animals can impact lives at various stages, from children who are just learning to read. It may give them the courage to keep trying to sound out those words and read those sentences. For patients who may have their normal lives disrupted because they're in a hospital, they're away from home, they're missing their own pets. This can bring joy, and that wagging tail and that cold nose and that soft touch of the fur can return them to a sense of normalcy. And for some of the seniors, older folks who may feel isolated or alone, these animals can offer connection when that connection can become less and less common and more rare. And I can't think of a better way to describe a little bit about the Pet Partners journey than to welcome a friend of mine, Katie Ray, who's going to join us today and talk a little bit about her perspective as a handler with our organization and how she got involved. Katie, you're here. Welcome.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I could sit and talk for an hour, but I know who the people really want to hear from. And that is someone who's doing this, who's walking the walk, who's got that leash in their hand, who's volunteering with their animal. And every time I see your smiling face and River's face, you epitomize what Pet Partners is all about. So thanks for talking with us for a few minutes today. I wanted to start out by asking you, what drew you to this work in the first place? What made you decide to become a handler, and why Pet Partners?
Well, I was thinking today, it's been 10 years. Back in 2015, I had two great friends who were volunteering with Pet Partners, one with a golden retriever, one with a labradoodle. And I was always asking them, well, what's it like? What are your visits like? At the same time, I was preparing to retire. I was doing some parish visiting with our church, which means visiting homebound people. I was comfortable with that. I was doing a little hospice training. And best of all, we were getting a golden retriever from a wonderful breeder in Montana. And I just knew up front that Goldens have a wonderful personality, usually for animal therapy. Mm-hmm. So I jumped in. retired, jumped in, and my first golden retriever was actually River's uncle, Indy. And we did all the regular training, obedience, and it came to the Pet Partners evaluation. And I was so excited. I went with Mr. Indy, and just as a look back, Indy was 1 year old. And now I am an evaluator, and one is very young. So we are ready, starting the first exercise. I'm putting my hand out to shake the evaluator's hand, and Mr. Indy next to me is just barking. Bark, 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 bark.
A little too enthusiastic, maybe on day one.
I think we needed a little more training. I know he got a treat. I probably got a treat as well. And they said, come on back, you practice in that environment where you've got a lot of distractions. And my two friends also said to me, well, why don't you just volunteer at the evaluations? First go observe. And
yeah.
So I did, and I jumped into the role plays. My role playing was wearing the floppy hat, a robe. They gave me a walker to walk around. And so that was a lot of fun. But that's where I really fell in love with Pet Partners, because I saw, like you had mentioned, that firsthand, the animal-human interaction, that bond between the handler and the dog. And it was all dogs at that time that I had seen coming through, as well as Indy and I did eventually pass, and we did start making visits. So, people want to talk about their dogs, whether they have a dog or they had one or have one. They wanted to share their experience as well. Sadly, we lost our beloved Indy at 5, and our wonderful breeder wanted to gift us, my husband and myself, his nephew, and thus we got River. And River and I have been a therapy team now we just passed our renewal evaluation, so
congrats.
3 years, and I am a full-fledged evaluator now as well for the last 2 years. So it's gotten in my blood.
How is it rewarding for you all to volunteer together?
It really is rewarding. You see the smiles, you see the people that you don't normally see, and they all talk about how it made them just feel that joy, that comfort that day. People are always asking me, well, when are you coming back?
Right.
So it's rewarding, and River just puts that smile on. And
how do you know that River's making an impact? Like, what are you seeing that makes you know that when you go out, you and River together, that you're brightening the days of folks beyond the smiles?
Well, he loves people. I love people. We both do have those smiles. So when we walk in, the mood changes. People going, River's in the house. But River is funny. He, I like to say, he has a signature move.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of one of the senior living places that we go to a lot, and we will go in, and there'll be 2 or 3 people standing in the hallway, even as we come in, and River immediately goes over to one person and begins to lean in. And that person will say, why is he leaning in? Or River loves me. Another person might say, well, wait a minute. Why isn't he leaning into me? And, but he is very good at, if there's 3 people, he takes his turn, he goes around and leans into all of them. And we always joke because they're typically wearing navy or black pants. And I'm saying he's leaving a little River or a little golden fur.
The best souvenir ever.
It is. But as we walk away, or as they walk away, they will always say on a visit, how did you know I needed this today? And that might be somebody who's at the front desk, a receptionist. That could be the nurse, a doctor, a senior living person who just came up to the memory floor for the first time. Somebody who's had surgery and is there for rehab. During exam time at a high school or university.
You all visit a variety of different settings, from students all the way to senior care. I know you do some work with the classroom Can you talk a little bit about the visits? I know we've chatted about it, the visits
Yes.
you've recently done with the classroom. I know that's been memorable for you.
Yes. Back in June, right before school ended, we had been invited to go to an elementary school in a neighboring town. And these kids, I was told ahead of time, are on the autism spectrum, many of them. And, I had been in that environment with another school, so I felt comfortable going, and I knew River did too. My husband wanted to come, so I said, great. So the three of us went and touched base with the teachers ahead of time to say, let's do kind of a one-on-one. And so we came into the classroom, and some kids are a little hesitant when they saw River. So the teacher would just take, their hand or their arm and just place it on his back, slowly, petting River. Other kids were all in. They wanted to go kind of face first, and so I had to control that.
Well, that's part of your role as a handler, right? Really guiding and make sure the interactions are safe for the kids, it's safe for River, Absolutely. And you're a pro at that.
Yeah, exactly. So I would direct them where to pet, love the ears. And then other kids wanted to come in a second time. So I made sure, just so you were saying, take a little break, give River some water, let's reset over here. And so, a couple of kids came back again. I was told afterwards that I had given the teachers River's little trading card, which says what he likes. And I was told afterwards that one of the little boys went running down the hallway, waving the card, saying, I love River, I love River. Oh. And then when I got home, a day or two later, there were several thank you cards in my mailbox.
Oh, sweet.
And if I may, this one first says, thank you to Mr. Rod and Ms. Katie. Mm-hmm. And it says, thank you for bringing my new best friend, River. He makes me feel calm, comfortable, and safe. I love seeing River. He's very cool, and draws a little picture. And then he was very fluffy. I love that. River made me really happy. I hope I can see him again. He's so cute and adorable. He was super soft. I loved petting River.
Oh, that's amazing. So River wasn't the only one leaving souvenirs. You got your own special letter. I did. That just goes to show that even after you all left the halls of that school, the kids were still thinking about River, their interactions with River, and we're hopeful that he would come back soon to visit. Yeah. Yes. And they said River's cool, and I think you're pretty cool too, Katie. You're amazing. Thank you for doing this. I know you're going to pop back in and join us in a little bit when we go through and talk about the program. I'm going to go through now. Thanks, Katie. I'm going to go through now and talk a little bit more about the program, but we thought we would start out just with talking with Katie and hearing from her a little bit. So if we can go to the next slide, let's talk about why Pet Partners. There are some unique aspects to Pet Partners in our organization. We've been around since the 70s. We're really considered the gold standard of therapy animal programs. Here are some of the cool kind of differentiators. So it's not just therapy dogs. We actually register 9 different species of therapy animals, believe it or not. It is over 90%, I think even close to 95% therapy dogs, but we also register cats. We have equines, including little mini horses, rabbits, guinea pigs, rats, birds, mini pigs, llamas, alpacas. We just know that these different species, there's so many different species and breeds of therapy dogs, species of therapy animals that really light up the room. Certain people just get excited for this variety. And we want you to know as a prospective handler that we're welcoming to a variety of different types of animals. We also offer a wonderful comprehensive handler course. This is really to prepare the human end of the leash so that you can go in and advocate for your animal, find the right fit, make sure that you're comfortable, that you are going in with confidence, and that you're supported in your role as a handler. We are a nationwide organization. We have thousands of therapy animals in all 50 states. We even have local community partner groups. We have over 70. These are groups of locally organized volunteer handlers that work together to serve a specific geographic area. So there's the opportunity, if you want, to connect with other handlers in many communities across the U.S., to connect, to visit together, to learn from one another and support one another, which is a great aspect of Pet Partners. We have so many wonderful, active, robust groups that are all across the country. We have so many relationships with a variety of facility partners across the US and Canada. These are hospitals, nursing homes, hospice, schools, VA centers. We'll talk more about who we visit, but just know that we're often the preferred choice by these facilities, and we work closely with them to fulfill their requests to have more therapy animals from Pet Partners come in to support those that they're serving. We also provide liability insurance for our teams. This is something you might not think about when you're first getting involved as a prospective handler with a therapy animal organization, but it's so crucial because this type of coverage and protection is required by a large number of facilities and settings that you may visit. There are a couple other reasons I wanted to talk about. If we can go to the next slide. We also have a volunteer directory. This is where you can go in behind the login in our volunteer center, enter your zip code and even some details of the types of volunteer settings you would like to explore. So you could say, I want to be within 20 miles of my home. I really want to focus on working with children, or I want to work on visiting with seniors and with my animal, bringing them into a nursing home or an assisted living or a memory care. You can put in parameters, and there's a directory where facilities can make a request saying, we welcome therapy animals in and we want these visits. So we can help through technology to connect you to visit opportunities in your own community. We also have, we work really hard to care and support our therapy animal teams. One thing that's kind of unique is we have a cancer care fund. This is where we provide financial support for therapy animals who've been diagnosed with cancer. We've helped over 100 therapy animal teams with direct financial support, helping them to cover cancer-related expenses. This is just one example of the many ways that Pet Partners is here to support you, guide you, and help you through your volunteer journey. The handlers across the country are who are making this all possible. So we work really hard to celebrate them, support them, educate them, and hopefully recruit a bunch of new teams to be able to meet the need. Next slide. Let's talk a little bit more about who we visit. I think a lot of times when people think of therapy animal teams, they think of the most traditional of settings, which are hospitals and nursing homes. That is a very popular and highly requested setting for our teams. So patients in recovery or seniors living with Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia. But we also work with young folks. You heard Katie talk about visiting students in the classroom. We work with veterans. We have a national partnership with the VA. So a lot of our handlers go in and visit with veterans. We also visit with active military, also the family of our military. And so that's been a visit opportunity that a lot of our handlers are passionate about. We also visit after crisis events, and I'll talk in a few minutes about some of our special initiatives. One of those is our animal-assisted crisis response program. We also have a lot of our handlers who dedicate meaningful time to volunteering in hospice settings. So these are folks who are approaching end of life. And the important thing is to know when you're thinking about this or maybe planning to explore whether you may want to volunteer with your pet, is that there's such a need for folks that may be at a vulnerable time in their life when they could benefit from the unconditional love of these animals. And you may find that you and your pet start out volunteering with one population specifically and you expand that, or you may find that you focus just on one area of passion for you that's a good fit for you and your animal. You can determine your volunteer journey, and that includes how often you volunteer and where you volunteer and the settings where you all thrive as a team. But I think the main point is from beginning of life throughout the entire journey, we've found that there is support and comfort and healing and care that can come from therapy animal visits that are as short as 10 or 15 minutes. We have research now. We all know intrinsically that this is true, but we have research, some of it funded directly by Pet Partners, to show that there are proven physical, mental, psychological benefits of our therapy animals visiting. So when you choose to do this, you're helping to create a happier, healthier, and less stressed community. Let's talk a little bit more about some of our programs. One is our Animal Assisted Crisis Response Program. This is where our teams can receive and opt into additional specialized training to prepare to navigate challenging situations where a community may be affected by a natural disaster or unexpected tragedy. In recent times, we've visited in communities after wildfires, hurricanes, tornadoes. Sometimes when there's collective grief that's being shared by a community, such as a shooting event, an act of violence, or even the unexpected loss of a colleague in the workplace. And so this may not be for everyone, but our handlers are passionate about supporting their neighbors during a time of need. And so it's an important opportunity to volunteer that some choose to do, and some prepare and take part in the Animal Assisted Crisis Response Program, hoping that it's never needed, but knowing that they're prepared if that time does come. Another program that we have is our Read With Me program. This is a program for our folks that are going into schools, libraries, literacy facilities. A lot of people don't realize that when young readers are starting out, that they may get very nervous and uneasy reading to a teacher, a parent, or another adult. They're worried that they'll be judged if they say a word wrong, if they can't sound something out, or if they have a misstep on a sentence. The wonderful thing we've learned through research is that when young readers are invited to read instead to an animal, they don't feel the same sense of anxiety or judgment. They're more excited about the interaction. Animals are great listeners. They're not judging if they make a mistake. And they start to associate learning to read with something that's really fun and joyful. And many of the teachers that we've worked with in classrooms across the country tell us that they cannot wait for the Pet Partners dogs and other therapy animals to come in and interact with these young readers. So Read With Me is another opportunity where we have resources and support so that if you want to focus on helping young folks learn to read, that's an option for you. Another option is our Walk With Me program. We designed this program in direct response to the Surgeon General's call for more walking. We know that there are so many benefits about getting up and walking. We also know that walking with an animal is a wonderful way to encourage folks to take those steps. So Walk With Me is designed to help people of all ages develop this healthy relationship with fitness and an opportunity to have a really meaningful interaction. So imagine being an activities director at an assisted living or a retirement community where one of your goals is to make sure that the residents and clients stay active and healthy and ambulatory. And you're asking folks to get up and walk and people are resisting. Imagine if you had the chance to say, hey, do you want to walk with Poppy the mini horse today? We have a therapy animal team from Pet Partners coming in to lead a walk with us. Or do you want to walk with River, the golden retriever? They're going to come join us today and get folks up and moving to go around the trail around our facility. So Walk With Me is another opportunity if you want to work on promoting physical fitness, connection, getting out in nature. This might be something you might want to explore, is getting involved with our Walk With Me program. These are just some of the examples of the ways you can volunteer and what you can kind of expect when you join Pet Partners. Because folks often get so excited when they go into one setting and their animal really lights up and they know that this is a good fit. Just know that we're here we listen. A lot of these programs were developed because handlers were coming to us saying, hey, we're doing this, and asking questions and wanting a little bit more support. So we kind of meet our handlers with this enthusiasm and willingness to hear about what they're doing and figure out ways that we can support them to grow this program and to grow these interactions. Let's talk next about therapy animals. What is the role of a therapy animal? Sometimes folks even confuse therapy animals with other animals that are performing roles out in society, like a service animal. That's more like a one-to-one relationship, where a therapy animal relationship is one to many. You're providing unconditional love and comfort to those in need. Think about a therapy animal as an animal that loves meeting people. We don't want our therapy animals to just tolerate these interactions. We want them to love them and thrive with them and be excited for the interactions. Our best therapy animals are very bonded with their pet parents, with their handler. They have a history of good behavior. They know basic cues. Maybe you've taken some animal training. You've gotten your canine good citizen, or you've just worked together to know these cues. They also are calm and comfortable being around other animals, because if you're in a hospital with a thriving therapy animal program, you're going to see other animals that are also making visits. They can handle the stress of the environments that may be changing or complex on a given day. They're also healthy and mature. You heard Katie talking about when she first got involved with Indy, maybe they needed just a little bit more time for Indy to mature a little bit. And so that's something that we really encourage. And we have some policies and programs in place around the age of the animals. So for example, a dog needs to be a year old with our program before they evaluate and become registered. Let's talk a little bit about the handlers. So handlers, we do have youth handlers, so you need to be at least 10 years old. But handlers are really there to help their animal predict, redirect their behavior. We have an acronym here at PetMarkers called YAYABA, which is you are your animal's best advocate. And so you're the primary advocate for your therapy animal, their well-being. You're there to care for them as you're visiting. We have built a program with the highest of standards so that these visits are effective, but also meaningful. And so these policies and procedures are in place to ensure meaningful and effective visits within a program where everyone will thrive. Guide the interactions with others in a calm and kind way. You heard Katie talk about, when the kids were getting a little excited, maybe take a break with River, assess the situation, make sure that you're really kind and supportive, but also advocating for your animal. We have a background check process that you need to pass in the US if 18 and up. So there are some basic steps for our therapy animal program. Is Katie still with us?
Yes.
Katie,
Hi.
You're back.
I'm back.
Like magic. I want to say thank you to Peyton, who's behind the scenes driving the slides and making sure this is all working. She's doing a great job too. But Katie, I wanted to bring you back in during this part because we'll talk just very briefly about some of the steps to become a therapy animal team. And you mentioned you're an evaluator. And
Yes.
so you're gonna be my phone a friend. I might ask you a couple
Okay.
questions.
All right.
But the first step is you can go to petpartners.org and create an account to start the process. The handler course, as I mentioned, is one of the wonderful aspects of Pet Partners. We offer this online. We also have instructors across the country. If you're in an area that has an in-person opportunity, you could take a handler course in person. So we offer that online and in person. That's really going to educate you and help to prepare you to be a wonderful handler with your pet. We have an animal screening form that we ask you to have your veterinarian take the time to look at, understand the program, and fill out so that we know that your animal is healthy and appropriate for therapy animal work. And then once you've kind of completed your course, you've gotten your health screening form, it's time for the team evaluation, which I would describe that as like your in-person, assessment if this is the right fit for you. How would you describe it, Katie?
Well, it can be nerve-wracking, but yes, I mean, these teams have worked hard, no matter where they are on the spectrum with their dogs, and when new teams come through, they're nervous. It goes right down the leash.
Yes.
And as an evaluator, we really try to calm them down. They can take a break with their dog. there's not, heavy pressure. We just want to see that the teams are bonding, growing together. The dog or animal is safe, and that they are an advocate with their animal.
Absolutely.
And really nurture that connection between the two.
Yeah. So you're assessed during your evaluation, not just your animal or not just the handler. It's how you interact as a team. And
Yes.
you'll go through some role-playing activities. I've volunteered at one before where I get to be a volunteer to pet the animal to make sure they're comfortable meeting new people. But we have, during your handler course, it's going to talk about that. And we have other opportunities to learn a little bit more about our evaluation. But you need to know as well that the evaluators are there to support you. And so you may, like Katie, who's now she's like Pet Partners royalty. River's the pet of the year right now. They're an amazing team. She didn't pass her first evaluation. You know what? We don't say you didn't pass. We say you're not ready.
You're not ready.
And she got guidance, and Katie gives the same guidance on how to get ready and to prepare. We're here to help to set you up for success and to guide you in ways if we believe it just is going to take a little bit more work. The evaluator is going to coach you to be successful, what to work on to see if you can get to that stage where you're ready to pass with flying colors. So the evaluation, there's a way for you to schedule that in your community. And we have opportunities if you're not seeing choices that are working for you, or there's a wait. We have a professional staff here that's here to help you to figure out the best opportunity for evaluation, whether it's a group evaluation or an independent evaluation. Well, after you do that and you pass, you will have your application and your final background check. When you're registered with Pet Partners, you are registered for a 2-year period. And then we have like a reevaluation period where that's where you'll come back, because we know as an animal ages, their temperament may change. We need to make sure that even after time, as your animal matures and ages, that you're still working together and are appropriate for the program. So we do have a reevaluation, which is another reason why many facilities prefer working with Pet Partners, because they know how thorough we are in assessing the suitability and preparedness of our therapy animal teams. So that's kind of the how to become a therapy animal team journey. And then let's go to the next slide. If you are interested and you want to start your journey today, you can type interested in the chat. That will prompt our Pet Partners team to message you a link, which will show you how to get a discount code for 10% off the Pet Partners Handler course, good for the next 2 weeks. So that's a great way to get started. The Handler course goes way more in depth than what we can do during this Facebook Live. But we just wanted to kind of explain what the volunteer role is, what the process looks a little bit like, and let you know how needed you are. Our vision for the future is that we have therapy animals available to folks that need them. We get so many requests for visits, and we do not have enough therapy animal teams to meet all of the requests. And you can tell by what Katie shared that the smiles are real, the enthusiasm, the comfort, the joy, it's all there. And so our role at Pet Partners is to hopefully meet the need, expand our program, and grow, because we know when our therapy animal teams are out there, they're making a real difference. They're supporting folks who need the support during a time in their lives where just a few minutes, a brief interaction can be so meaningful. And it may be, a person whose memory is fleeting. They may have Alzheimer's or dementia, and they haven't even recalled or spoken or interacted. And that petting of an animal takes them back to a place of memory, and they'll share that this interaction reminds them of their pet. We'll hear stories like this all the time. So thank you, Katie, for joining us. I want to close. I'll tell you just one story of one of my favorite therapy animal teams, and that's Bellin. And I, through my decade with Pet Partners, have met so many amazing handlers and heard so many amazing stories that it's hard to think of just one, but Bellin always comes to mind when we're talking about our program. This is a picture of Bellin when he was facing a difficult time in his life. He was actually rescued after it was found that he was being horribly neglected. He was abused. he was chained outside, not receiving loving interaction and not having the life of an animal that so many of us provide for our own pets. Luckily, Bellin was rescued by an amazing rescue organization in Texas. And he was rescued by a wonderful couple who nursed him back to health and supported him and loved him and fed him and provided warmth and shelter and comfort and love for him. And as Bellin became more comfortable with receiving that love and interaction and started to show his real personality, and show how excited he was to be around people who pet him and loved him and accepted him, his new pet parents decided this might be possible. Maybe Bellin could be a therapy animal team. And so they nursed him back to health and began to share him with others, explored becoming a therapy animal with Pet Partners. And here is the after. Can you believe that is the same animal? Bellin started visiting with children in a pediatric clinic with young patients who may be nervous about going to the doctor. They were tiptoeing to look at him behind the counter and for him to come out and visit. And they also started visiting in other settings, including a grief support facility and also a domestic abuse shelter. And to hear his handler, Steve, tell us about one of the visits when they were at the domestic abuse shelter just touches me so deeply because, you know, they were working with various folks in families that had faced abuse. And one day they were invited by the staff there, including the mental health professionals, to spend a little time with a little boy who had really retreated after experiencing such trauma. He barely spoke. He was selectively mute. He wasn't talking or interacting a lot. And with the guidance of the professionals there, Steve went in with Bellin and shared a little bit about Bellin's history. And the little boy began petting him and hearing about how Bellin had been abused and had experienced some hard things in life. And everyone was so touched and surprised when the little boy, while he was petting Bellin, said, "It's okay, Bellin, I was hurt too." And it was like one of the first times the child had shared and spoken and connected on such a deep level with someone who was volunteering there. And so we know at that point that Bellin was loving it. Bellin's handler was enjoying this enriching volunteer activity. And the people that were being visited were being impacted in very powerful ways, and their lives were changed. And so I just want to let you know, if this is something you're considering, you have a real opportunity here to make a real difference in your community, to form an even stronger bond with your own pet, and to share that unconditional love with others who need it most. I appreciate you giving me a little bit of your time today. Again, type interested in the chat and we will respond with a way to get a discount on your handler course. I've been looking forward to this for several weeks. What an honor to be able to talk to so many of you today. Thank you for giving us the time and thank you for considering Pet Partners. Have a great afternoon.